This season on Broad Abroad, we go to Guatemala.
How many NYU acting grads does it take to get a kayak out?
Scared, I'm hot.
I'm gonna die. Would you want to be on my podcast or no?
Guatemala will be destroyed.
But I'm just concerned about hydration because nothing is staying. I so want this moment with you, but I'm not really here.
You heard explosions over and over again. You are going to see a lot of pyroclastic material all around you, and you are going to see with your own eyes a lot of fuego, a lot of fire, a lot of lava.
Y tu más bonita y comida es excelente. Lo siento por mi español. I'm really trying.
And El Salvador.
My friends will be alive. They would have a future. I'm here because I'm lucky. My opportunities were being in prison, being a gangster, or get killed. Those were my options.
Ok, la mejor manera de aprender español es aprender de los nativos.
You said it right. It was just like sometimes like certain phrases or words, the grammar is a bit off, but you tried, so.
Me encanta las comidas. Aprendo mucho español con tú y surf.
How did I do for my first surf lesson?
You're doing great.
I think the numbers were 60,000 gang members got locked up within a year. Do you think that there are any innocent men locked up?
From my perspective, I would say no. I told you I have the perfect profile. Just because the place you grew up, you can be an investigation. Even if you have the cleanest record in the country, you can be an investigation. I grew up in a difficult place, but then I moved. I have a different life. I can trust in the government, and I think I'm talking by all the Salvadorans. If you were not involved with something bad, you're gonna be great.
Hi, I'm Katie, and I love to travel.
And I'm Grace, and I'm always looking for my next destination.
I'm from Texas.
And I'm from Minnesota.
Now we live in New York City.
And we sit across from each other at work.
I just got back from my latest adventure.
And Katie hid me from her Instagram stories, so I have no idea what she's been up to.
This is Broad Abroad.
Hey, Katie.
Hi, Grace.
Your desk has been empty for the last couple weeks here at the office. So tell me, where have you been?
I have been in Central America. Have you ever been?
Never to Central America. I've been to Mexico, but I've always wanted to go. There's tons of countries down there that are just gorgeous, I know.
Well, let me tell you, Guatemala is awesome.
Oh, yeah?
Muy bonito. Muy bien. I love Guatemala, and I can't stop telling people to go.
Tell me first, what inspired this trip?
Well, Grace, it happens to the best of us.
What?
I turned 30.
Oh my God. The 20s have ended.
Yep.
Well, as someone who is in my 30s solidly, I have to say welcome. And also that, it's a tough transition, but it's it really is the best decade, in my opinion.
Yeah. So far, I have really enjoyed being a 30-year-old. It's not as scary as I thought it might be.
That's good.
I was nervous to turn 30, and I've had this idea since I was 25 to do this big weekend with my best friends at a big house just to celebrate my 20s. And so I started to do a deep dive on Airbnb. And I'm browsing, and I'm searching for something around $500-$600 a night with a pool and a view, and nothing good is coming up. I was thinking the Hamptons, and it was way too expensive. I thought about Spain, but it was just a little bit too far from my friends, too much time that they would have to take off work. So I kept expanding my search, and then I came across the most stunning listing I have ever seen. It was this stunning villa that looks so unbelievably beautiful on a lake with views of 4 volcanoes.
Oh my God, that's insane.
It has its own little swimming cove, a sauna, kayaks, and reviews are important. It has a 4.96 rating, hundreds of reviews.
Okay.
And in all of them, it's hire the private chef.
Oh my God, there's a private chef. Okay.
So I'm 1,000% sold.
Yeah.
So I messaged the host. I'm like, can I have a little birthday shindig? She says, yes, of course. And I book it. I'm going to have you guess just how much this Airbnb was. It's called Villa Patsiak, 4-bed, 4-bath, private cove, kayaks.
Right on the lake.
Absolutely gorgeous, full-time groundskeeper.
I can't even imagine. I mean, like, a place like this in the States would be thousands, minimum thousands a night. So, and I know, of course, in Central America, the costs are probably lower. So I would guess like $800 a night, maybe?
It was $580 a night.
That's crazy.
And the total bill for all of the meals was like $400 total.
Oh my God. For like 3 days, is it? 4 days?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
All handmade, fresh. So the value for money that you get in Guatemala is just incredible.
Wow. People are sleeping on Guatemala, aren't they?
People are truly sleeping on it. And you could find a cheaper place if you wanted. This is really a good idea if you have like a giant family vacation you want to do or something similar to me, a bunch of friends. Like all my friends were like, oh my gosh, I would book this again.
Super comfortable. I mean, just getting there is probably the trickiest part, right?
All you have to do is be willing to fly to Guatemala and drive 3 hours and get on a boat.
Yeah.
Easy.
Who would
Easy
do that?
peasy.
All your friends were just willing to like pack up and go to Guatemala. Those are some good friends.
I have some really, really good friends. And I think what helped is I had been talking about this for a really long time. And I also sold it to them because I found a direct round trip flight to Guatemala from JFK for only $350. And I wrote everyone like a 4-page detailed itinerary of everywhere we would go to. And one of my friends had only ever been to London.
Whoa. And she was like, down?
Yes.
That's cool.
There was a teeny tiny catch to this budget flight that I found.
Oh, okay.
And that's that it was leaving at 4 a.m.
Oh my God. Yeah, okay. So you got to wake up like really, really early for that, right?
I don't think I slept.
Okay.
We meet at 2 a.m. at JFK. We land in Guatemala City, and the Airbnb host had arranged for a van to pick us up. His name was Israel. He puts all of our bags on top of the van. The AC is blasting. We have music going. He didn't speak a lick of English, which is totally fine because my friend Anna is fluent and my Spanish is okay-ish.
Yeah. What is this drive like? And you mentioned this Airbnb is on a lake, right? So what was that trip like?
We land in Guatemala City, and the lake without traffic is about 3 hours away. And it gets pretty windy. And so most of us took some Dramamine that I brought, which helped a lot.
Yeah, that you don't want to be throwing up in your first hour in Guatemala, I'm sure.
On the way, we went to an ATM and we got some Guatemalan quetzals. $1 is about $7 to $8 in Guatemalan quetzals. And then we go to a supermercado to get snacks and water.
What's the water situation like there? Can you drink like the tap water? Is it safe?
So the Airbnb host told us that the kitchen does have filtered tap water, but if we want to be extra safe, we can buy water from the grocery store. So that's personally what we did. So we arrive in Panajachel or Pana.
Okay. Is this the name of a town?
Yeah, there's 11 towns around the lake. Some are accessible by road, but most are only accessible by boat. And Pana is the most convenient and accessible one and the biggest one. I wouldn't necessarily stay there. There are a lot of hotels there, but I more so like the more remote towns around the lake.
Okay, that's good to know.
We got our groceries. We have our bags. It wasn't quite time to check into the Airbnb. So we got lunch at this place called Deli Jasmine, which was so good. And then we get on the boat.
You're taking the boat directly to your Airbnb?
Yes.
Wow. So what was that like?
So they have these motorboats called lanchas, and there's public ones that go all around the lake and make stops.
What does a ride in one of these cost?
There's local prices and tourist prices, typically tourists can expect to pay around 25 quetzals or about $3.50 for a ride. So not too bad.
Yeah, totally.
And you can also hire one privately, which is what we did since we have such a big group. So we met our boat driver. We got his number. I didn't get his name, but he was super helpful and drove us around all weekend. So So then we arrive at the Airbnb, and it is even more stunning than the listing, and everyone is freaking out. It is so freaking gorgeous. We meet the groundskeeper, Binturo. He shows us around. He gives us his number, and he tells us, let me know if you want to use the pizza oven or the sauna. I'll heat them up for you. We meet the cat. There was this super old orange cat. The first 2 nights, the cat may or may not have slept in our bathroom.
That's awesome. Okay, so I want to know more about this lake. This sounds just like stunning, like villa vibes. So paint a picture. Tell me what this is like and how big is it?
This lake is huge. Some have called it the Lake Como of Central America.
Oh.
And this lake was created 84,000 years ago by a supervolcanic eruption. At its deepest part, it's over 1,000 feet deep.
Whoa.
It's 50 square miles big. So there are 3 volcanoes surrounding the lake. There's Volcan Atitlan, Volcan San Pedro, and Volcan Talaman. And I also have to say, Grace, please forgive me, listeners, if you're because I may be mispronouncing things. Atitlan, the A has an accent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not Atitlan, as I've heard.
Oh.
I think it's Atitlan.
Yeah, okay.
Atitlan.
Atitlan. Right?
Actually, Grace, this is too difficult. Let's just turn to YouTube.
Lago de Atitlan.
Atitlan.
Lago de Atitlan.
Atitlan.
Lago de Atitlan.
Lago de Atitlan.
Atitlan is not a Spanish word. It is a Mayan language word, and it roughly translates to between the waters. So this is the Nahuatl language, which is a Mayan language. Atl is the word for water, and Titlan means between.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, this is one of the most beautiful lakes in the world, if not the most beautiful lake in the world. It's certainly the most beautiful lake I've ever seen, and it's inhabited by several Mayan indigenous groups, but predominantly it's the Sutuhil people and the Cachiquel people.
Okay.
That night, the private chefs that I had hired came by. It was 2 Cachiquel sisters, Dina Elizabeth and Raquel, and they made us pepián de pollo, which is the national dish of Guatemala. It's like a meat stew and a vegan soup for Celine.
Tell me about our cast of characters. Who are these friends that came with you on the trip?
Ana, my childhood friend, her family's from Venezuela, so she speaks Spanish. Very, very helpful. Celine is my childhood friend. We met when we were like 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
And she is now a flight attendant, so she gets to travel all over. Brittany is an actor friend that I met in New York City, and Portland is also an actor friend that I met in New York City. And Dan was there, my boyfriend of 4 years, who you've met.
Yes.
Our boyfriends are becoming little friends. It's quite cute.
It's very cute.
He met at our party, and Dan was like, that Max guy's easy to talk to. It's like, he is.
Yes, he is. That's true.
And then, we went to bed, and the next day was our first full day in Guatemala, and I had arranged for us to do a ATV tour. So before the ATV tour, the ladies came again, and they made us desayuno chapin, which is like a very traditional breakfast that you would have in Guatemala and many parts of Central America. So it's queso fresco, beans. They made us fresh tortillas every morning.
Wow.
The plantains, eggs, and some crema. Absolutely delicious.
That's like, I want that every day of my life.
I know. I don't even have, just to give you context, how healthy this weekend was compared to most of the time. So far at the office today, I've had Sour Patch Kids and a Red Bull. So
yeah. You don't always expect that though when you're traveling. It's kind of like you have to just be open to whatever. So it's nice when the local food is like actually very light and healthy and like delicious.
Yeah, we're all like New York City girlies who just eat takeout all the time. And so we were actually like, it's a shock to our system to have so many vegetables.
That's a good way.
So Grace, have you ever ridden an ATV?
No, I never have. And I'm like super curious about this because when I picture them in my mind, it's like just teenage boys like zipping around, driving too fast, but like
somewhere in Alabama.
Yeah, exactly. on the roads, on the dirt roads. So what was that like for you guys?
It was awesome. I'm going to link the tour group that we used below. I loved our guide. He brought us to 2 local towns, Santa Catarina Palopo and San Antonio Palopo. And these 2 towns have a lot of locals, and we learned all about these goods that they make. So he took us to a coffee shop, he took us to a chocolate store, and he also took us to some hot springs because, there's a lot of volcanic activity. So in some parts of the lake, there's like hot pockets of hot water, which was nice.
Cool.
And there actually was a little festivity going on in the town, so the roads were blocked, so we got delayed. And so we start looking around at scarves. And actually, I'm wearing the scarf that I bought.
Yeah, this is an incredible scarf. The colors are so, for the listeners who can't see, it's like the most vibrant pink and green and purple you've ever seen. And just like, I assume this is a traditional kind of weave pattern. Do you see this a lot in Guatemala?
Very traditional. I had the chance to speak to the woman who actually made this, and her name is Otilia.
Otilia. Sí. Mucho gusto, Otilia. Ana Cristina.
And what you're hearing right there is Ana. So I asked Otilia about how she makes the scarves. One takes about 2 weeks to finish. 2 weeks to finish one like that. If it's longer, it takes more weeks to finish.
Más semanas para terminar uno. ¿Y cuánto tiempo te demoró para aprenderlo?
How much time did it take for you to learn it?
Desde los 12 años.
Since I was 12 years old. And then she tells us what she makes.
Ya como lo hace como los centros de mesa. Ajá. Y hacemos el til, fajas.
Sí. ¿Y faldas?
No, la falda no.
So she makes centerpieces for tables, and she also makes huipiles, which are these traditional tunics that the women wear, and scarves.
Zapatos? No.
And I asked, does she make shoes? And she says, no. And then our ATV guide takes us to a pottery studio.
This town is called San Antonio Palopo, and the population around this area is from the Cachiquel ethnic group. Yes. A little bigger than Santa Catarina. We have around 15,000 inhabitants in this area. And in Santa Catarina, we have just 5,000.
And he teaches us all about how they make pottery traditionally around this part of the world.
Everything starts with these rocks. These are called barro de Olintepeque, or you can translate it to Olintepeque's clay. Basically, Olintepeque is another town in the northern part of Guatemala.
After the ATV tour, we grabbed some lunch in Pana, and then we head back to the Airbnb. And it was getting pretty hot, and so we were jumping between the lake and then getting in the sauna, which was awesome.
That's a big day. You really packed a lot of stuff in.
I was packing it in because 2 of my friends could only be there for the weekend. And so I was like, I'm going to pack as much Guatemalan fun into these few days as we can.
Yeah.
And then the next day was my birthday. So ultimately we landed on, let's call up our boat guy and let's just do like a booze cruise along the coast of the lake and check out some of the other towns and look at the beautiful hotels.
That's fun.
So we packed some tequila and some juice. We were on our way. And so he was driving us like 3 miles per hour and we took lots of photos and it was a lot of fun.
That's super cool.
So first he took us to San Marcos, which is like super hippy-dippy, backpacker vibes. We had some lunch there. There was a lot of things to buy. Not my favorite of the towns.
Hippy-dippy is not really your vibe, I'm guessing.
No, not really. And then we go to San Juan and it starts pouring.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Did you have like umbrellas and rain gear and stuff?
No.
Oh, shoot.
No, we did not. And then there was this lady who was like, hey, do you want to learn about the scarves? Mm-hmm. And we were like, is there a roof? And she was like, yes. And so we got out of the rain and she was actually really, really sweet. She seemed really young. I would say like maybe 17, 18. And she was like, do you mind if I practice my English? Because she was in school studying English. And of course, we're like, sure. So she tells us all about the tradition of making textiles in Guatemala. It's one of their biggest exports. And women have been doing it the same way for years and years and years and years. So one of the really interesting things is, after they pick the cotton, they make the dye and they make it out of all natural stuff.
Rosemary, the color green, chilca, the color lemon, basil, the color purple, the seeds of paprika and carrot obtain the color orange, and to use insects, the name is roly-poly. And the roly-poly obtained the color red.
And there's even this specific plant that will make different shades of blue depending if the moon is full when they harvest it or if the moon isn't full when they harvest it.
No way.
This is the plant. The name is Sacatinta or Planta de Indigo. Obtain the two colors. I have full moon obtain the color blue. The no full moon obtain the color the light blue.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
For the seal, the color, to use banana trunk. Because the banana trunk, you have a liquid white.
Making these scarves takes a lot of time and concentration.
The woman to remember the number, because she's forget the numbers, is to repeat again the old process. Oh, wow. So for you to use this tool, no cell phone, no TikTok, no boyfriend. No boyfriend. Just focus. Yeah, only. And the finish, 450 rounds. The next process in the finish is the weaving.
We bought more scarves there, actually the coasters that we're using, and then we headed back to the Airbnb. I am a recovering theater kid, so I wanted it to be, a little dramatic. I asked all my friends to wear an all-black outfit to have a funeral, and it was so much fun. I wasn't expecting to get so emotional.
In my early and mid-20s, I hoped this exact day would never come. It had to happen to one of us, and it happened to me first.
And I wrote a little funeral speech.
Aging is really, really scary. People are not nice to older women. While my 20s were very stressful at times, it also felt like it was acceptable to make lots of mistakes and experiment. But today, I truly feel very at peace with entering my 4th decade, surrounded by 5 of my favorite people who all made a huge impact in my 20s.
Grace, did you feel emotional when you turned 30? What was that day like for you?
Yeah, I definitely did. I had less of I didn't really have the kind of like party that I maybe wished I could have, because weirdly enough, that day, the day before I turned 30, I moved from Minneapolis to New York City. So I was like, unpacking boxes and like meeting my roommates and figuring out where my laundromat was and everything. So it was like very symbolic in some ways, starting a new chapter, but also I didn't really have like a lot of time to kind of reflect and be intentional about it. So it's cool that you got some time to like celebrate, have your friends there, and like take a moment to feel how significant it was.
Oh, and I almost forgot. We also went out that night.
What?
So I asked Dina Elizabeth in very broken Spanish. I was like, mi amigos quieren hombres guapos. I was like, all my friends are single and they want hot men.
Where do we find them?
And she was like, San Pedro, perhaps? So we head there, we call up our boat friend, and we went to this really fun bar called Sublime. So we show up, they give us shots. They gave me 2 shots because it's my birthday.
Aww.
And the music is bumping. We take close to like 2,000 pictures on this trip. Yes.
Oh my
we
God.
have a shared iCloud album that is just
incredible,
out of hand.
Yeah, what's the club scene like in Guatemala?
Just an impeccable vibes. Like, Latin people know how to dance. I wish New York had places where like the energy is that good.
Yeah.
And no one's being creepy.
That's so awesome.
The drinks are cheap.
That's so fun. You never know in a new city or especially a new country what the clubbing kind of atmosphere is going to be like, but you guys felt safe and everything?
Oh, 1,000% safe.
Oh, cool.
I guess I will say now looking back, I don't know that we met any hot men, but I think at that point, we're just there to have fun.
Totally, yeah.
That was turning 30.
That sounds like such a good birthday.
Yeah, cannot complain. It's, we'll talk about like some of the things that didn't go so well in this trip later on, but I have to say the first 4 days of this Central American vacation went perfectly.
Oh, that's great.
So Elizabeth had previously asked if we would be interested in buying some jewelry that her and her family makes. And I was like, yes, we would be. And would you be interested in being in a podcast about travel? And she said, yes, okay, we have struck a deal.
Cool.
And so our very last morning all together, we're having breakfast. I go back inside and she set up like hundreds of pieces of jewelry on the coffee table. She has like earrings, necklaces, keychains.
Wow.
All sorts of just beautiful jewelry. So I bought like 6 pieces, a bunch of presents, and then she sat down and I asked her a few questions about her life.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y usted cómo estás?
Muy bien. ¿Cuál es tu nombre?
Mi nombre es Dina Elizabeth.
She tells me that she's Cachiquel.
Cachiquel. Hablamos Cachiquel.
And then she tells me all the different languages that they speak around the lake.
Aquí en Guatemala hablamos idioma Cachiquel, Sutujil y Quiché, Mam, en otro pueblo. En cada pueblo tiene idioma. En San Pedro y en Santiago habla Sutujil. Y San Juan, San Pablo, habla Sutujil. Pero en San Marcos y en Jaibalito, Santa Cruz, Panajachel, Sololá, habla Cachiquel.
For example, in San Pedro and Santiago, they mostly speak Sutujil. In San Juan and San Pablo, they also speak Sutujil. But in San Marcos, Jaibalito, Santa Cruz, Panajachel, Solola, they mostly speak Cachiquel. She speaks Cachiquel. And I wanted to actually learn a little bit of Cachiquel. So I asked her, how do you say hello in Cachiquel?
Hola, Utsawach. Utsawach, o hola, bueno, Utsawach, Atka.
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 Then I asked her how many years she's lived at the water.
¿Cuántos años has vivido cerca del lago?
Del lago. Yo nací aquí en Jaibalito.
And she told me she was born at the lake in Jaibalito, and she is now 36 years old.
36.
Y ese año yo nací aquí, y estoy viviendo en la orilla del lago.
I asked her, what's the most important thing to you?
Lo más importante para mí, como ahorita yo estoy aprendiendo.
She said, the most important thing to me right now is that I'm learning to cook. Cooking and making typical handmade items like weaving, fabric, bracelets, necklaces. This helps us make a little bit of money to help out the family.
Telar y como haciendo pulseras, collares. Eso es lo que nosotros ganamos un poquito de dinero para ayudar a la familia. Sí.
And then I asked, is family the most important thing in Guatemala?
Sí, más importante la familia y mi sueño yo tener 4 hijos, pero ya tengo 4 hijos ahorita. Ajá.
And she says, yes, family is the most important, and my dream was to have 4 children. And now I have 4 children now, so her dreams came true.
¿Cuál es tu comida favorita para preparar?
I asked her what her favorite thing to cook is, and she said,
mi comida favorita en la casa es, nosotros comemos hierbas de natural de aquí con tortilla. Esa es mi favorita en la casa.
Local herbs with tortillas. Her tortillas were amazing.
Tus tortillas es fantástico.
And my final question was, what's your opinion on tourism at Lake Atitlán?
Bueno, por el momento yo miro que sí hay mucho turista acá en Guatemala porque ellos nos ayudan un poco de comprar algunas cosas.
And she said, at the moment, I see there's a lot of tourism here in Guatemala, and it helps us a little buying local stuff and items. It helps us a lot because they come from other places and they're in our town buying things and they're eating traditional dishes from Guatemala. And it gives us a bit of money to support our family. I like that more tourists come to Guatemala and visit our lake.
Nos da un poco de dinero para ayudar a la familia. Eso, a mí me gusta que venga más turistas que en Guatemala a visitar nuestro lago.
Gracias por tu tiempo, gracias por la comida
Y tu más bonita y comida es excelente. Lo siento por mi español. I'm really trying.
Yeah, gracias. Gracias a ustedes también.
Yeah.
Muchas gracias.
And I'm wearing some earrings that she made. They're
Oh,
little Mayan women.
Oh,
Aren't
that's
they
so
cute?
cool. They're super cute. Well, Katie, this sounds like a really incredible trip.
Oh, it is not over yet. There is so much more to come that I have to tell you about.
Okay, I love this. I have to get back to work, though.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll see you back here another day.
Same time next week.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Adios. Broad Abroad is a production of Gotham West Studios.
Hosted by Katie Yonner and Grace Heerman.
Our executive producer is Tommy West.
Dale Watts is our head of marketing.
And our head of video is Kyle Bosch.
Our graphic designer is the talented Bailey Crawford.
Katie Yonner is our head of audio.
Grace Heerman is our producer.
And Lizbeth Henriquez is our intern.
Follow Broad Abroad Podcast on all social platforms.